Hi everybody and welcome to the Saturday Surface Interval in association with Mpora. Mpora is an online magazine that is all about inspiring adventure. Whether that adventure involves sliding down on a snowy mountain, pulling yourself up on a climbing wall, riding your bike through wooded trails, surfing barrels down at the beach, and yes, of course, exploring the underwater world while scuba diving. Mpora is a website that's got you covered. It's got interviews, previews, reviews, the regular news, everything that you need to keep yourself clued up on the big outdoor issues. It has everything. Now that nights are starting to draw in, of course, in the northern hemisphere at least, days are starting to get shorter. I was starting to think about night dives again and what you may need to go scuba diving with in the dark. The first thing that you need to do is, unfortunately, do a little bit of homework about how the dive is going to be slightly different when the sun goes down. You can dive one particular dive site hundreds of times during the day, but see something that you have never ever seen before on your very first night dive. Not just because things are dark, but because the night shift starts to come out to play. As with all ecosystems, you get a whole range of animals that are awake during the day and then they go to sleep at night. Others are, of course, nocturnal that only come out to play at night. Because of this, you will see brand new species that you probably haven't seen before in that area, but not just fish, invertebrates too. The surface of reefs will all be different, with feather stars just unfurling, trying to filter things out of the water. With this new amazing wonder all around you, it's very easy to get caught up and forget to understand what these new things are and how you can affect them and how they can affect you. The first thing is to know is if there are any dangerous things around. Lionfish, those pretty stripy fish that you see all the time, those spines are actually venomous and they like to come out and play in the dark, and you don't want to bump into one of those in the dark because you didn't see it. One other thing about lionfish is now they've actually learned to use scuba divers to hunt at night. They know that we like to shine our torches at fish, which then blind that little fish and make it easier prey, so the lionfish like to swim quite close to us scuba divers. Do your homework first. See if there are any dangerous species in the water at night that you should really know about, and of course look at the tides as usual. Also consider how accessible your nearest trauma center and hyperbaric chamber is at that time of night. Some are actually only open during the daytime, which could delay treatment in an incident. It should really go without saying that you really do need a torch for a night dive, but what kind of torch? Well, for diving in fairly clear blue water, you want something in the kind of 200 to 800 lumen range, something with a decent amount of power, but not so much power that you just end up blinding yourself by shining it on some white sand. Most divers dive with two torches, a primary and a backup torch, just in case that primary torch fails. You don't want to be underwater in the dark when your only light source just shuts off. So you turn your torch on before you hit the water, and you only turn it off when you're back safely, just in case when you go to turn your torch off underwater, it doesn't turn back on. That's why we bring a small backup as well. A backup torch isn't usually as powerful as your primary, but it's enough to get you out of a problem. Your eyes can naturally adjust to the dark after a while, but it's much safer if you have something that emits light when you're in the water. Even if it isn't as powerful as your primary, it's still brighter than your black wetsuit. One of the largest benefits to to a dive torch that most people don't really think about is so that other people can see you, and most importantly, emergency services. If you thought a scuba diver lost at sea on the surface was hard enough to see during the day, just imagine how hard it would be to see a diver at night. Now imagine looking for someone who's physically shining a powerful torch and how much sooner they'd be found. A simple glow stick around the neck of your tank is handy so that other divers can identify you without shining their torch in your face. Glow sticks are cheap and they come in a whole different range of colors, so you can stand out much better in the water. People can see what color you are and know that you're their buddy instead of just swimming off with someone else. It can also help you find your way back to something, or at least confirm that it's your thing that you're trying to come back to. If you come back to a hang tank, it's a little bit nicer if you come back to it and you can see that from some distance, you can see where it is. Not just that you're back to a bit of safety, but that you're double sure that this is yours and you're not just hijacking someone else's hang tank. You can also get infrared glow sticks now. Stow a couple of them somewhere safe, and that way if you're ever in trouble on the surface, you crack one of those and you will stand out from miles away if a helicopter is looking for you. They won't ruin your night vision because they don't really glow at all, but they are super bright on an infrared camera. There are a new range of signals that you now need to know about when diving at night, because trying to see your buddy's hand signals in the dark just isn't really going to happen, especially if they're wearing gloves. Now, one thing that you can do is literally just shine your torch on your hand signal so that your buddy can see it, but we do have a few hand signals that need two hands. But a torch beam can also make your signals easier as well. The OK signal is just a circle with your torch beam. That's nice and easy, and people can see that from quite a way away, but it can also be used to point out something on the reef. So if someone's doing lots of circles, then they may be trying to get your attention. But if you do need to get a diver's attention in the water, then shine your torch beam across theirs. On a night dive, and you're kind of looking at where your torch beam is shining, if you see someone waving their torch beam across yours, it's really distracting. So it's a great way to get their attention. But keeping track of your buddy is much easier in the dark as well, because you can see them, and even when they're behind you. If you can see your buddy's torch beam in your peripheral vision, then you can roughly tell where they are and how they're feeling. If their movements are nice, smooth and calm, then they're probably fine. But if they're frantic, then they may need your help. So be careful where you shine your torch and how you shine your torch. Even if you have a great sense of direction, it can be very easy to get turned around on a night dive, because your view of the dive site is so limited to pretty much what you're shining your torch beam on. Building up that mental map of the dive site is kind of tricky, and it's very easy to lose your bearings. So at the start of a night dive, I take a look at my compass, and that just helps me get my bearings at the beginning of the dive. That way, even if I get turned around, I can still look at my compass and know roughly which direction to head back. If you're diving off a boat or from a busy shore, then you can also use you can kind of see a glow from the lights on the surface. Dive boats often have floodlights off the sides of them, so if you kind of turn around and look up at the surface, you can usually see a glow in the direction that you want to go. The same with towns on the coastline. The sun warms the water a surprising amount. It isn't an instantaneous thing. Large bodies of water tend to take a while to change their temperatures, but even a degree of change can actually feel quite a lot. The longer it gets from sunset, the colder the water is. So it can be nice to put an extra layer on for a night dive. If you've been diving a dive site during the day, it can be surprisingly different at night. It's almost like a thermocline, but usually the worst part is after the dive, climbing out of that soggy wetsuit in the dark with the wind just running through you. So I usually pack a warm wrap so that I can get changed as soon as possible, as soon as I get out of the water and get nice and dry. So if you're diving at night, I normally dress a little bit warmer for the dive. Don't go too crazy though. If you're diving in a shorty during the day, don't go and just sort of jump into a dry suit. Just sort of get maybe an extra layer, or just sort of wear a hood and maybe some gloves. And then after the dive, just have something nice and warm so you can wrap yourself up. So that's what I like to sort of do for a night dive, but of course let us know down in the comments below what you like to, or sort of how you prepare for a night dive. As ever, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Simply Scuba channel. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.